Hello, my name is Asha Sampath and welcome to this new edition of Business Africa, your magazine dedicated to the continent's business and economic news. As usual, you can win $150 in our Business Africa game. More details later, but first, today's top stories. The economic francophonie, myth or reality for businessmen, it really exists.
Je pense que la francophonie a une légitimité, ça a été rappelé.
I think francophonie is a valid concept. When you speak the same language, you can do business more easily.
It's not easy to be African in China every day. We met these expatriates from the continent in Canton.
People are talking a lot about China nowadays, and a lot of people are coming here. Americans, Europeans, there are people from all over. Even Africans come here to do business.
How do I set up my business in the Ohada area? In the Business Law is Your Business series, we'll provide you with some tips and some valuable advice.
If you're a legitimate business in Benin, you can apply for official work from international institutions. That way you can pay your employees, make a living, and help create jobs.
According to the latest IMF debt statistics, Francophone Africa is globally the least indebted part of the continent. The reason? A strong economic dynamism which has succeeded in propelling the growth of these countries. Hence, raising the question if the Francophonie is also contributing to businesses. In other words, can a community based on the French language become a community of interest? Our reporter, David Chiombiano, asked the question.
Francophonie. 300 million French speakers across 5 continents and accounting for 25% of global trade. But merely acting as a guardian of the language of Molière is no longer enough. Can this community, based on the French language, become a common economic interest group? Entrepreneurs will argue that there can only be greater trade between French speakers if there is a common set of rules and regulations as well. Training and education play a pivotal role in making sure businesses have access to the relevant expertise they need to develop. French-speaking company leaders also believe that Francophone cooperation must invest in key sectors, such as energy, new technologies, and technology transfer.
I think transfer of technology is a priority. If we're going to have shared growth, the northern nations must share their know-how with the southern nations. Otherwise, the problem we're seeing now with immigration will carry on. If Africans can find the right climate at home, if they can blossom thanks to shared knowledge, people will come to Europe to learn and share skills and then leave rather than coming to stay.
For the specialists, economic francophonie must be based first and foremost on the entrepreneurs. For the past 2 years, the sector's players have been meeting at forums to establish the outline of a dynamic French-speaking common market. After Dakar in 2014, decision-makers from the French-speaking world are meeting in Paris. On the menu, the idea of a passport for French speakers to channel investment to and from French speakers.
Je pense que c'est un atout quand vous êtes marocain, francophone et que vous partez dans en Afrique.
I think it's an advantage. When you are a French-speaking Moroccan, you feel at home in sub-Saharan Africa.
Passerelle pour une passerelle, mais est un
The French language is a bridge, a vector for doing business more easily.
Il faut donner du contenu à la langue et donner du contenu.
But we have to talk about the right things. We have to make sure businesses know what is needed. In a market, you need to be able to move freely. A global market, you cannot be competitive if you have just limited reach. I'm all for francophonie, but it must be a two-way street.
Pour la francophonie, mais une francophonie dans les deux sens.
For the time being, measures are only being taken on a piecemeal basis. France, for example, has suggested introducing a 4-year visa to give entrepreneurs greater mobility. Senegal has decided to waive visa requirements for French people. preference is being given to policies that will give French speakers an edge and stimulate business exchanges between countries in the Francophone community. But some say it's a little too late and argue that while francophonie rhymes with economy, it also rhymes with colony.
La francophonie économique.
A francophone economy is fine.
Mais
but why have we lost so much time? Business is more often done in English. When you talk business, you talk English. The Anglophone economy is more dynamic.
The forum organizers and the Organisation Internationale de la Francophonie are well aware that they must choose their battle well. The aim is not to combat the hegemony of the English language in ICTs and finance. The goal is to establish a business milieu based on cultural affinities and values shared with French speakers and fans of all things French.
La francophonie économique existe. Oui, la francophonie économique attire.
Je pense que la francophonie a une légitimité, ça a été rappelé.
I think francophonie is a valid concept. When you speak the same language, you can do business more easily. It's important for us, francophones, to get a realistic view of our situation. How can grand institutions such as the OIF help us? We have to empower entrepreneurs to reach out to other entrepreneurs. We are looking at legislation concerning business angels and crowdfunding, and we think this will have OIF backing.
The Francophone economy may still be discovering its true force. And there is no time to hesitate. The continent is a wealth of opportunity in terms of initiatives and partnerships, a fact that Americans, Chinese, Japanese, Brazilian, and Indian entrepreneurs are well aware of.
A prosperous sector in Africa in the midst of the pandemic. It's the fintech sector specialized in electronic finance. The Nigerian digital payments startup Paystack, with around 100 employees and 60,000 users, has just been bought by the American company Stripe. The deal, valued at more than $200 million, is not a standalone. We've seen several similar deals this year. DPO, a business payments service, and Sendwave, a money transfer startup, has also changed hands for hundreds of millions of dollars. Bad news for Malian cotton producers. The 2020-2021 season should result in a harvest volume of 176,200 tons, 75% less than last year. The reason for this historic drop in production is of course linked to the slowdown in the global textile industry. The economic context has led to a drop in the minimum guaranteed price for producers and encouraged them to turn to more profitable productions. Little Africa, this is how the African quarter in Canton, China is being called. At the end of 2019, more than 13,500 Africans lived in this city, mostly to trade. But this year, incidents of discrimination were reported by the city's African residents, and Chinese authorities had to step up to condemn all forms of racism. Our correspondent, Zhao An, visited the African community in Canton.
Guangzhou, in the province of Canton, is one of China's richest ports. In the center of the city, covering an area of 10 square kilometers, you'll find a little piece of Africa. Houses, shops, hairdressers and restaurants. A village among the skyscrapers. Here in Little Africa, the inhabitants speak English, French, Malinke and Susu. The 200,000 inhabitants are from Mali, Cameroon, Guinea, Liberia, Nigeria and Congo. They are Muslims and Christians. 20,000 of them have their official papers with an entry visa and an authorization to stay over 6 months. According to official estimates, the number of, quote, legals should increase by 30 to 40% each year.
D'habitude, je fais toujours les allers-retours. Je viens ici, je fais mes achats, mes séjours s'arrêtent et puis je regarde mon pays. C'est ce que j'ai toujours fait depuis 2 ans.
Usually I go back and forth. I buy things here and go back home. I've been doing that for the past 2 years.
I generally buy telecommunications products, computer hardware, some telephones, and spare parts for computers. I've always dealt in microprocessors, hard drives, and various computer accessories. It's easy to find affordable computerware here in China. You buy here and sell in Africa, and the prices are still low, so that's a good thing.
De matériel informatique à des prix vraiment accessibles, je peux dire.
But there aren't just computer salesmen here. Africans also buy clothing and other fashion accessories. Some even have their own boutiques. Elengola Mawango is from the Democratic Republic of Congo. She settled in China 3 years ago.
Here in Guangzhou, business seems to be booming. People are talking a lot about China nowadays, and a lot of people are coming here. Americans, Europeans, there are people from all over. Even Africans come here to do business. At first it wasn't easy, but it's a lot better now. The Chinese are signing contracts with just about everybody.
China is okay. It's really not bad. The houses are good and the shops as well. I came here to do business.
With hairdressers, clothes stores, and a host of other small businesses, the Africans here seem to have successfully adjusted to life in China, although they do still come up against cultural and linguistic barriers.
When we meet, we say hello. That's all. I don't speak their language and we can't communicate.
According to an official report, Chinese police arrested 63,000 illegal African immigrants from 1995 to 2006, including 16,000 in 2006 alone. Beijing faces a dilemma. Although China is committed to signing equitable commercial exchanges with Africa, the Asian giant must also cope with a wave of African immigrants settling in areas that are already heavily overpopulated. And furthermore, the new arrivals increase competition for business and labor.
You on Business Africa, welcome back to the second part of our show. While many African countries grapple with a spiral of debt, Angola has discovered that stolen funds from the state can be part of the solution. Angolan authorities estimate that more than $24 billion has been stolen from the country's coffers as a result of complex corruption and money laundering operations. The whole question now is to succeed in recovering them, and meanwhile, Angola, Africa's second largest oil producer, is in negotiations to reschedule its debt. The European Union has given the green light to Mozambique. The Mozambican government has requested European logistical and technical assistance to put an end to an armed insurgency by militant Islamists. The unrest began in 2017 but has peaked in recent months in the Cabo Delgado region in the northeast of the country, where towns are in rebel hands. To discuss these developments, I'm joined from Pretoria by Lyle Lau-Vaudran, analyst at the Institute for Studies and Security. Lyle, hello, and thank you for joining us on Business Africa to answer to some of my questions about the situation in Cabo Delgado. So what is the strategy of the Islamist group Ansar al-Sunna in the province of Cabo Delgado?
So we saw in March this year, for the first time actually, these insurgent groups coming into a village, distributing food and telling people that they are actually not targeting civilians, but they are fighting the government. They attacked government buildings and then left. But at the same time, so there are various groups in various areas of Cabo Delgado province. At the same time, some of them had been attacking the villages in a very gruesome way, we have to say. Beheadings, people have been assassinated, and their houses have been burned. We almost see daily attacks now of villages being attacked. Mocimboa da Praia, which is the main port near Palma, which is in the north of Cabo Delgado province, is still being occupied by these insurgents, but it's pretty much emptied out. I mean, there are 300,000 refugees. So people are fleeing the insurgents.
The European Union has just given its support, but is the external support to the government of Mozambique sufficient?
It has taken quite a long time for there to be an international outcry really about the crisis. It was also because the Mozambican government tried to keep it quiet. Initially, it also said it was merely just, criminal activity. Because this area is so strategic, because there are these massive natural gas reserves and you have multinational companies investing there. But now, I would say the last 3-4 months, there has been more and more attention from the region, mostly from civil society. The neighbors like Zimbabwe, South Africa, Angola have been approached. Well, South Africa has offered assistance. We, as I said, at the ISS, we've been very active in trying to convince SADC, the Southern African Development Community, to get involved, to coordinate these efforts so that we can find African solutions, to this crisis, rather than seeing what we've seen in other parts of Africa. Sometimes foreign countries coming in with troops, etc. But it is very tricky, and also because of this threat by the Islamic State, which, we believe is linked to the insurgents, and they have claimed many of the attacks. They have threatened countries like South Africa, if they get involved, that they would be targeted. So it makes it all very, very complicated for the region and for Mozambique.
How can the situation evolve for the government and its business partners who seek to develop the gigantic gas discoveries located precisely in this threatened region of Cabo Delgado?
Yes, it's extremely important for Mozambique that it is able to control this insurgency, because these gas investments in the gas finds and the gas fields in Cabo Delgado is very promising. I mean, it's one of the biggest foreign investments in Africa in the last couple of decades. We are talking about something like $60 billion of investment ultimately, over the long run. So the production will start around 2024, and we are expecting Mozambique then, which is a really poor country, to have a growth rates of 9-10%, according to some estimates. So if there is peace, it will be not only for Mozambique, but for Tanzania, Malawi, Zimbabwe, even South Africa. There are many activities around these gas installations that are extremely important.
Thank you for your time. The financial crisis is deepening in South Sudan, where the currency has collapsed. The country has been badly affected by the drop in oil prices, which has brought down state revenues. The country does not hold enough foreign exchange reserves to prevent soaring inflation, and most of the retailers across the country have closed down after being forced to double their prices. How can I start my own business? Many among you might be asking yourselves that question and wondering if it's now the time to take the plunge. While it's true that only a few documents are enough to become your own boss, but how do you make your business prosper? Part of the answer with David Chiombiano in this first report in our series, Business Law is Your Business. Take a look.
How can I set up my business in Benin? Nothing could be more simple. All Sebastian needed was a copy of his ID card, 2 passport photographs, and 72 hours. Now he is an officially recognized entrepreneur with his business card and business registration number. To top it off, he will receive expert tips to help him take his first steps in the business world, and even advice on how to avoid getting taken for a ride.
I know what tax is all about now. I'm not going to get fooled by a so-called taxman after my money. I have a better idea of what I need to pay. If you're a legitimate business in Benin, you can apply for official work from international institutions. That way you can pay your employees, make a living, and help create jobs.
Like Sebastian, 1,500 people from the informal sector have made the move to the formal sector, attracted by the advantages that come with the entrepreneur status put forward by OHADA. What if they decide later to step up a gear from very small business to a limited liability company or PLC? Once again, the process is far easier than it used to be. You once needed $1,500 capital to set up a limited liability company. Now it's just $150. Some countries, such as Senegal, go even further. The capital requirements depend on the company status. You may decide to have just $15 capital. The lawyer's fees for setting up a business are also lower in this case. For example, you will pay $30 for a limited liability company with capital of $160.
The advantage of setting up a business these days is that you can establish a special purpose reserve. In other words, the financial liability for the founder of the company is limited to the capital he has invested in that company. From a legal point of view, the other advantage concerns the relationship with partners and with other people. When you have dealings with a bank, it's always better to present yourself as a company than to present yourself as Mr. Joe Blow. As an individual, there will be more questions and it will be more difficult establishing a relationship of trust. In the former case, the bank just checks to make sure the business is legal, if it is officially registered, if it is registered with the tax authorities. That helps build trust and makes it easier to do business. 95% of my country's revenues come from tax. You pay your tax, you work in the formal sector, but the state does nothing to help. I do 80% of my business in the informal sector. If I didn't, I couldn't survive.
Competitiveness is one of the keys to growth. Success in business also demands a blend of know-how, imagination, innovation, and economic expertise. You need to be top dog to win contracts. In the ruthless world of business, it's sink or swim. But how can you win on merit alone when the waters are muddied by insider trading?
In the government, when a company director is chosen, he goes off and sets up a company, and the contract is his for the taking. You can make as many bids as you want, but you will never be awarded the contract. That's why so many companies go out of business in Benin.
Whether you are an entrepreneur in the OHADA zone or not, there is no denying that progress still needs to be made in terms of transparency and governance. But whatever the situation, a business operating in the formal sector has the advantage of limited responsibility. You can take the risk of aiming higher or of working on becoming an internationally known business.
It's now time to reward our loyal viewers of Business Africa. It's up to you to answer to the following questions. If you're drawn among those who have given the correct answers, you will win $150. This is game number 537, so listen carefully to the two questions that follow, and good luck. First question. How many francophones are there in the world? 600 million, 500 million, or 300 million? Second question, how long does it take to start a business in the OHADA space? 6 months, 8 days, or 72 hours? You know the answers. You can participate now by going to our Facebook page, answer the questions, fill out your form, and good luck. And of course, don't forget to include your contact details, name, address, telephone, mail, and the number of the game you are entering with the answers, of course. This game, for example, is game number 537. The winner will receive $150 as our winner this week. Congratulations, you gave the correct answers to our game number 533. Here are the details. First question, what's a sukuk? Answer, a financial instrument. Second question, how many people make a living from coffee in Ethiopia? Answer, 15 million. Well, that's it. Business Africa is over for today. I'll see you next week, same time, same channel with Initiative Africa. We'll talk to Franco-Ivorian film director Philippe Lacotte. In the meantime, you can catch this program on all our social media channels. And feel free to share, like, and comment using the hashtag Business Africa TV show. Take care of yourselves and have a great week. Goodbye.